What's up, Buff Nation? It's been a crazy couple of days with the transfer portal and players going in, players coming out. But the big question has been what is things going to look like at the black and gold scrimmage, spring game? We got some ideas of players to keep your eyes out for, and some that may shock you because Coach Prime has been talking up some players that not a lot of people have been talking about. So I have TJ here with me on the prime time for college football. TJ, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited. I like you doing the intro, man. I like a little bit different, but I like it.
I know it feels good to have somebody else jump in there and bring a different type of energy while at the same time you always do great. But let's jump right into things, right? We know Coach Prime has a plan. We know that he's prepared for this spring game, is even with players coming in and out. But there's a few positions that's got some openings that we've all been wondering what's going to happen. We talked about a few days ago how a couple of running backs have hit the transfer portal, even had a running back come in from the transfer portal. And so I had a few players that I think me and you can talk about to keep our eyes out for once the spring game goes down on Saturday. Bucks fans, I'm hoping you're going to be tuned in, as well as some of you hopefully will go. Show your support for the local team and get excited for what Coach Prime is doing there in Colorado. But let's start here, TJ. I'm looking at, first off, the running back room. We've got to talk about and address the elephant in the room. Because when you lose a player like Dylan Edwards, and then you got Austin McCaskill and Anthony Hankerson. I mean, you go down the list of running backs that's gone. You ask yourself, okay, who's left? And I think these two running backs are something to think about. You've got Charlie Offerdahl as well as Michael Welch. Now, these are two players on the roster today that Coach Prime has raved about. Welch being a freshman, Charlie being a former walk-on that seems to be making some waves. What do you think about the running back room and how they'll be able to handle things with the latest departures?
Well, I'm excited to see what they look like up against a defense that finished the year a lot better than they started. And I don't want to get too far ahead. I know we're going to do a defensive talk here in just a minute, but I'm excited to see who kind of steps up and takes it. And obviously the answer is, well, you'd hope both come out and have a great day. But like when the lights are on, right? It's one thing to do it during practice when nobody's out there, when there's not a lot of hype and the media is not there kind of breathing down your necks. But now what about when it's broadcast and everybody's watching it? Because just like last year, when everybody was tuned in to see Coach Prime's spring game because it was so new, this year I think they're tuned in for a different reason. I think with all the portal additions and the people who have departed via the portal, I think people are going to be tuned in, honestly, watching to see if this thing continues to move smoothly. I'm really excited for Welch. I'm really excited for what he can potentially bring. A little bit different style than what you had with Dylan Edwards, but I like his skill set. I'm excited to see what he looks like in that offense. We talked about it in our running back video just a couple of days ago with the Edwards departure. Just being able to run behind that offensive line, new and improved offensive line, which we'll get to in just a moment. I'm excited for both, but Welch is kind of the guy that sticks out to me as, man, let's see what the new guy can do, the true freshman, and see what that talent really does look like.
Speaking of freshmen, we've got another one that, of course, all Bucks fans are excited about. Definitely the jewel of this class in Jordan Seaton, the big offensive tackle that came in for this class and who's also been recruiting for the Bucks. I'm pretty excited to see what he looks like, right? This is going to be an entirely new, revamped offensive line. 4 transfer portal guys came in the last portal for the interior, and then you had an additional tackle come in as well. It's going to be a big deal. And the expectation is Jordan's going to play, and hopefully he lights it up. What do you think about that line?
I mean, Colorado brought in some edge rushers as well that are pretty high profile, and one just this week that obviously I don't expect to play in the spring game, but Samuel Okunlula and others that they've brought in on that defensive front. How does Seaton and really the entire offensive line handle that? How do they deal with some of the beefed up defensive line that Colorado has? Colorado's defensive line was okay last year. I don't think they were great by any means. They flashed at times. You remember they took the transfer from Florida State, Derek McClendon. I don't think he quite had the year that Buffs fans were expecting. But I do think that side of the ball has been improved too. And again, I know you asked about Seaton, but to answer the question, I'm interested to see how he does against some of those guys that Colorado brought in and has returning that kind of wrecked things last year. And we expect to have pretty good years this year. And so he's going to be thrown into the fire quickly. He's, I mean, without a doubt, the most talented offensive line member on the team. It's just raw. It's new. It's fresh. He's obviously only been in college for a couple of months now as an early enrollee. And so, how quickly can he get up to speed? I would expect that there are times that he has plays he would like to do over, but that's what this is for. That's what this scrimmage is for. And can he shake those off really quickly and just get right back to it? Just get right back to absolutely being the best offensive lineman on the team? And I think the answer to that is yes. I think the answer is, yeah, he's going to have some plays where you're like, yep, that's a true freshman. But at the end of the day, we've seen some success with true freshmen starting at tackle in big time programs. LSU's done it. Alabama did it last year. Can he be the next one that starts and is one of the better players on the team? I think so.
Yeah, he comes in with some great pedigree, and then when you add to that, if one side wins, another side has to lose, and
Sure.
so as you mentioned with the defensive lineman, the question is how prepared is he at this level? Phil Loadholt's got a lot of work to do to make sure that his prized possession on and that gem on that line is ready. But we got to move on to the defensive line real quick. We got a couple of defensive guys to talk about that feels like Coach Prime is extremely high on and ready to see some breakouts. The first one we got to talk about is Chidozie Nwakwu, the big nose guard that Sam Sansari brought in. And I'm curious to see what he looks like in being working with Sansari, who, of course, came from Alabama and did some fantastic work there. And also in this new Robert Livingston defense. The new defensive coordinator comes in. I'm curious to see what he does out there. He's probably one that's going to be one of the more critical components of the success of the defensive line. Yes, those edges are going to probably do their thing, but you're going to make sure you got that run stopper and run stuffer, especially going back into the Big 12 where they run a lot of fast-paced offenses, a lot of hurry up. Curious to see what he looks like. Who's jumping
Yeah,
out for you, DJ?
yeah, I'm excited to see kind of where the center of that line looks. Like you mentioned, stopping the run, but also like can they get a push up front too? I think Colorado was fairly good against the run last year at times. They struggled so much against the pass, and so much of it had to do that the quarterback just sat back there and had all day to throw. And not that I necessarily want to see them absolutely getting after any quarterback, especially Shador this weekend, but man, this is an offensive line that still has a lot of question marks, still a TBD as much as we expect and anticipate that it'll be improved. I mean, you got a true freshman that we just mentioned on the other side of the ball. Not that your nose guard's going to see him ever, but this is an offensive line that's not like solid or 100% solidified or anything like that. Can these defensive guys, which defense is usually ahead in spring and in spring games, can they make some noise? Can they kind of wreck things up front? My worry is that if they can't do it in this game with a brand new offensive line, there's obviously two sides to every coin. It could be that the offensive line is a slam dunk hit. It also might be that this defensive line isn't quite where it needs to be. But again, you've got a long way to go until we get to September. So that's kind of what I want to see with not only the edge rushers when we talk about Samuel Okunlula and others that are on this team, but also the middle. Can they get push up the middle? Because last year they really struggled to do that.
This will be a great opportunity to see if they can, especially working with this new offensive line. Can this defensive line take advantage of that? And the last guy that I think that we definitely need to talk about, and this is one that Coach Prime was throwing out some praise on, is defensive back DJ McKinney, transfer from Oklahoma State. Now, this new DC, Robert Livingston, he's got some work to do with him. And then you've got Travis Hunter. The thing that jumped out to me is, and what's interesting is how's he going to leverage them, especially with Travis Hunter potentially playing both sides of the ball. What is going to be the responsibility of a DJ McKinney? Are you going to have him float around, play some nickel, or have him follow and trace the top wide receiver on the other team? How is he going to be able to leverage him and make sure to maximize what Travis Hunter can bring, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but also on the offensive side of the ball, which is very interesting because The defensive coordinator has to take that in consideration. And then when you lose a player like a Cormani McClain, as well as a Adam Hopkins, you've got to replace that talent. Now they've got talent coming up. Coach Prime, being a former corner, makes it a lot easier to be able to talk to some of these players and really pull out the best potential because he's considered one of the greatest to play at that position. But I'm really curious to see how they work all of that out with DJ as well as Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I like that Livingston is a secondary guy, right? Like is a corner safeties coach, a guy that has the emphasis there. And so it's one of the position groups that I'm least concerned about. I mean, I think quarterback's number one for most of us, wide receivers up there too. But DB's up there, right? And it is not a position group that I'm incredibly worried about, but I am intrigued by it. Like you said, how do they rotate McKinney? How do they rotate Hunter? Hopefully Hunter is just not absolutely going nuts on both sides of the ball here in the spring game, but I'm sure they'll put a little bit. I mean, Coach Prime's going to put a little bit of a show on for the folks that are on TV and they're in person to see it. And so I'm interested to see that for sure. What a cheat code to have him on your, playing on the black and gold side if he wants to. But, I think that, watching what he's able to do, and maybe even in the spring game, you don't even play Hunter that much. I mean, you let him get a few plays in, but I'd like to see how he rotates McKinney, how McKinney does. I mean, put him on Hunter at times. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And all right, buddy, you want to test? Because here's a guy that's as good, if not better, than anybody you're going to see this year. I don't think anybody's shutting down Travis Hunter, but if you can limit him, I think we'll be in pretty good shape to put you on other people later in the year. So, Coach Prime, if you watch this, if you listen to this, that's my vote, is that you put McKinney on Hunter some and let us see that matchup. Good luck to McKinney. It's kind of like having to have Deion Sanders guard you back in the day if you were the wide receiver. So good luck to DJ if that does have to happen. But I think that'd be the most fun thing to do. So again, Coach Prime, if you watch this later, comment below, let me know. But that's my vote for Saturday. If you're taking votes from me, then let's roll with that.
No, I agree with you there. It'll be a fun matchup to see them going against each other just because they play on the side of the ball too. So the smack talk is going to be elite. Everything that we love about sports, it's going to be top tier.
No, man, I'm definitely excited. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to break it down with you maybe later next week or maybe watch your recap of it. We'll see kind of how things go. But we've talked about this a little bit. Jay from Unfair Sports and Jay now from the Primetime for College Football, helping us out a little bit on this channel, taking over some of our day-to-day stuff, going to be making some content, going to be doing some different things. So welcome him to the channel. Thank you guys for all of your support. The fact that you continue to tune in and you continue to watch us. Things are heating up. We're excited for a big-time summer here at the Primetime for College Football.